Hello, this is the Ashes Review on a day where England made 220 for two and trail Australia by 58 runs on the third day of the first test of the 2021-2022 Ashes. With me today, I have a much chipper Phil Dillon. I am Declan Hooper. Phil, amazing how much difference a day makes, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this is why we love Test cricket because I was just saying off air before we started how a lot of journalists in the press box today were thinking this isn't going to last more than a day. And England, the way they batted in the first innings, and now we're looking at England only 58 behind with 8 wickets in hand on a pitch that's not offering much to. Probably, one of the best attacks in the world. And David Malan and Joe Root were, you have to say, magnificent to wrestle some ascendancy back from the Australians after, both failing in the first innings, both under huge amounts of pressure when they walked in. And it's you have to say it's a great day for England. The Barmy Army were in full voice. There's a small Barmy Army, the mini Barmy Army.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I think that's, as we always do, start from the start, hey. Australia came into the day, 7 down. Pat Cummins, the captain, and Travis Head. Travis Head goes on to make 152, and Nathan Lyon and Mitchell Starc put on some runs themselves and gets that score over the 400 mark, which I think is important.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, we both said at that stage that the day could have been ended by the end of the day, or the Test match, sorry, could have been ended by the end of the day. But as it was, look, Rory Burns got bowled out early, 13 off 27 balls. I mean, a nightmare Test match for him, and one that he'll probably want to put behind him. Hamid looked good for his 27. I was corresponding with you all day, and I said he was playing some really nice shots. It was a cover drive he did off Starc, I think it was, that was beautiful, and he was looking really good until he got caught behind by Kerry, and then into the attack, David Malan and Joe Root. And to be honest with you, I think it could have really gone one of two ways at that point, because the ascendancy was in Australia's favour. But the way them two batted, they just wrestled it back. I think Joe Root especially. I think David Malan, I mean, there was a few, shots that he probably played and missed. But for the most part, there was no real chances for either of them. And that's the ultimately what you want from your batsman, is not to give away big chances, because it just the Test match kind of it ebbed and flowed back into England's favour at that point. I mean, look, I think Australia is still in a great position, but it was the first challenge, I think, for Pat Cummins as a captain, because the past 2 days he's had it pretty much go to script.
Yeah, well, I'd have to say, like you say, for the first 2 days, nothing went England's way. They bowled pretty well yesterday. Mark Wood was outstanding. Finished up with 3 wickets in the Australian innings. He probably deserved a little bit more than that, to be fair. I think him and Ollie Robinson passed the bat between them, beat the bat 30 times between them, which is a fantastic effort. And that just shows to show how much, the Australians rode their luck a little bit, especially David Warner. And then the luck probably wasn't with England in the first. They nicked everything. Australia caught everything, which is pretty unusual for a Test match. England missed their chances. And then Hamid Rory Burns got a real snorter from Pat Cummins, he was unlucky to get an edge to be fair, because he had no right to get an edge on it. And then Hamid strangled down the leg side, and he thought, oh, here we go again, more bit bad luck than that England get. And then sort of swung the other way. I suppose that's what happens in 5 days of Test cricket. So you have ebbs and flows, and now it's swung back England's way, and people got to as I said before, Joe Root has been in the absolute form of his life, and we all knew that it was up to him. It was down to him and a couple of others if England were to do anything in this series. And it's brilliant for England that after getting naught in the first innings, Joe Root is back to his magnificent best in 2021. But look, Joe Root's got the capacity to go big tomorrow if he wants to. I'm hoping I'm not putting the mockers on him. And it's great to see David Milan doing well again in Australia. He seems to like Australian conditions. He got 100 in Perth the last time England were here, and it suits the way he plays. It seems to suit his style. He likes the ball coming on. He likes to play off the back foot. Joe Root played the shot of the day today, the cover drive that he played off Pat Cummins. I think it was magnificent shot. And David Milan wasn't far behind. He played one off Mitchell Starc, which flashed to the boundary through the covers.
I think the actual end of days play probably came at the right time for England in a weird way. I think probably came at the right time for everyone, to be honest with you. I think the Australian bowlers looked flagging in the same way that the English bowlers did yesterday in that last over. But I also think that there's a few loose shots from David Milan, not so much from Joe Root in that last hour. Yeah. Where just slight laxes in concentration and stuff. I mean, nothing clear cut, obviously, but there's a few little wayward shots, and I think probably the end of days play was probably a good thing for him to regroup, re-get the concentration again for a big day tomorrow. Just back on the ascendancy swapping between Australia and England, I think it's very rare in a Test match that you get 5 days where it's all your way. Generally, if it goes all your way, it's probably over in 3, right? But so I think it's great to see. Obviously, as we said, that's why we love Test cricket. But it's great to see for a whole contest. Look, I still personally think Australia are in the box seat, but it just shows that England will be competing all summer, which there's a few question marks about yesterday. And I think you take away that score. In that first innings, it just shows, we said it both days, that innings has put so much pressure on England. And if you got another 100 runs yesterday, then we're really in with the game. But as it was, as we said today, tomorrow's first hour is really important because, as we said at the top, they're only 58 runs behind Australia at the moment. Obviously, Australia's still got a bat in their fourth innings, but if they can get to say 250 ahead or something, then we're in for a real big day, or big days over the weekend, aren't we?
We absolutely we are, and I go, like I said before, the one thing that I'm there was a lot of trepidation going into this morning, when England batted again from the England fans, and I'm sure, and probably from the England camp themselves, how are they going to react? And look, Rory Burns looked a bit jumpy again. He was lucky to survive that review in the first over. He could have been gone for a pair in a Test match that would have really made his Test match even worse than it was already. But as I say, Joe Root, he's just been absolutely fantastic, and he's led from the front as soon as he came in alongside David Milan. David Milan was a bit less fluent than Root. Joe Root just looks like when he gets in, if he gets in past 25 or 30, he looks like he's going to get a big score.
I mean, there's very few players in Test cricket that do that, but Joe Root, your Steve Smiths, Virat Kohli, them kind of people of the world. It almost becomes a procession once they get to 30, and that's what it looked like today.
The one thing obviously missing from his scores in Australia is that he hasn't got 100 here, so that'll be preying on his mind. He's 14 runs away from that. So, if Australia, they've got 10 overs to go until the second new ball tomorrow morning, right? So those 10 overs, I reckon Joe Root and Milan will look not go full on attack, but they will look to score reasonably quickly in those first 10 overs in the morning before the second new ball, because the ball's still soft. The pitch is all right. They're not going to go mad, but they'll look to maybe go at 3 runs and over. So they're like only they want to be probably 20 odd runs short of Australia's total when the second new ball comes around. If they can do that, then you've got people like Ben Stokes, Josh Buttler, and Ollie Pope who naturally are attacking players. So the other thing is that Josh Hazlewood. Not sure what's happened to Josh Hazlewood. So, he's only bowled 8 overs in England's second innings so far.
Yeah,
he didn't bowl after tea on day 3. Now, is there something wrong with him? We don't know. I haven't seen a press conference to say why he didn't bowl. I'm sure there'd be answers that Marnus Labuschagne was in a press conference tonight, so I'm not sure whether he would know the answer anyway. But if Josh Hazlewood can't bowl tomorrow for any length of time, then that obviously is a plus for England, because he's arguably been Australia's best bowler, and he's had Joe Root on a string basically over the last few.
Well, I was going to ask you that.
Him and Pat Cummins have got Joe Root out 15 times.
I was going to ask you that because I did notice a lot of replacement fielders for Australia over the course of the day.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask if Josh Hazlewood was one of them ones off the field.
I don't think he actually went off the field. Cameron Green went off the field with a I'm not sure what it's either a calf. I think it was a calf problem, so he went off the field for a couple of overs, and then and David Warner was off the field all day. Never came on the field with bruised ribs. We're not even sure they might be broken. So, I mean, that might be a plus for England as well, because he's not if he's got bruised or broken ribs, it's very doubtful that he'll play in the Adelaide Test, next week.
I think from an Australian perspective, I think they probably persisted with Nathan Lyon too long for me. I think, and it did change the ascendancy of the game, and much like his fellow bald spinner from the other team. That after
we can't mention his name.
Well, as I said, I think it almost was like that they were trying to get his 400 so much they just persisted with him until he got a wicket.
Yeah, the same with him. I think he's there as well. He's trying so hard. He's appealing for stuff that doesn't look anywhere near out. They said in commentary that he's not giving the ball enough loop. He's bowling too flat. He's pushing it through too quickly.
I mean, look, he didn't bowl that badly. I don't think. Like, I mean, they positioned him too long, and England got into a rhythm of scoring a couple of runs and over. I mean, he only conceded 2.8 his economy, so his economy is not that high. But England got into a rhythm with him, and facing Stark or Green or whoever it was at the other end, they just kind of rotated the strike with him, and I think that's what set the batsman up for big totals.
Yeah, I thought with Josh Hazlewood, let's say unavailable for the afternoon, most of the afternoon session after tea, I would have given Cameron Green a few more overs. When he bowled a couple of overs from the press box end, the Vulture Street end, he was causing Milan a few problems. Bowling, so they started bowling a bit short to Milan, and there was a couple of times when he turned, he tried to pull him off it, and one just fell short of Marcus Harris, another one just fell short of Pat Cummins in the mid wicket. So I would have persisted with Cameron Green a little bit more, but maybe he had a bit of a problem. I mean, look, they've been out in the field for 2 days, whether they've been batting or bowling for 2 long days. It takes it out of you. I'll tell you what, we had one of the biggest storms I've seen in Brisbane last night, and it lasted a good 7 hours. Went from 7 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. So when we woke up this morning, bright sunshine. So it was as humid as it can be. It's a really stinking hot day in Brisbane as far as humidity is concerned.
Obviously, England have had a great day today. I am a little bit wary of obviously Joe Root and Milan to get back in, that they could go big again tomorrow. But in the same token, I've seen England have a really good day one day, especially the India over the course of the English summer. They have a really good day one day, and then they come in tomorrow and be 3 wickets down in the first 5 overs, and then you're back at square one. So It'll be interesting. So as we said, it will be an interesting first hour. I'm slightly to push back on you a little bit about them trying to score runs early. I think for them, it's about staying in for that first kind of make sure Milan and Joe Root are still in after that first hour.
Oh yeah, they need to be in after that after the first 10 overs. We don't want new players exposed to the new ball. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. But by the same token, they can it depends on who Pat Cummins goes with straight away. He's more than likely, I would imagine, to go with Nathan Lyon and maybe himself, especially if Josh Hazlewood, he might go a couple of overs with himself and Mitchell Starc. Mitchell Starc's been expensive again. Australia have had this trouble between the 30th over and the second new ball, and that happened against India last year, of not being able to take wickets with the old ball, and that's something they need to rectify, obviously. But Mitchell Starc took the wicket of Hamid, but he went for he was going for 5 and over.
I think sometimes with Mitchell Starc, because obviously he's been bowling the quickest out of any of the bowlers on both teams, and I think, look, sometimes he is erratic. He's really erratic, but I think on a day like today, I think we've seen with this pitch, with the way that Rory Burns got out, the way that Josh Buttler got out in the first innings as well, I think that extra little bit of pace is the difference between taking, caught behind David Milan in the first innings as well, and not. And I think that's what we saw between the first and second innings. So I think you can almost excuse it somewhat, him being a slightly more erratic and slightly not getting his line right, because when he does get his line right, that extra pace and that extra skid on is causing the batsman a lot more problems.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, it's set up for a fascinating day, and I agree with you. Obviously, Australia are still in the box seat because they're 58 runs ahead, and so England are minus 58 for 2. Let's say, right?
Yeah.
But if they get a good start, and those two are still in when the new ball comes, then you've got to give England some sort of chance of setting Australia a decent total. And if they get to 150, 200, then I'm pretty sure Cummins will be a little bit nervous in his first Test match if that becomes. I mean, I've gone back to that 2010-11 game when they scored 500 in their second innings. I keep banging on about that, but if that happens, and it could, we don't know. I mean, it could easily happen because the pitch isn't doing much at the moment. Then
I think
we don't know what we don't know how that's going to affect Australia at all.
But I don't look. I think the draw seems to be out of the equation for me.
Absolutely. There's no chance of a draw. No.
So I mean, look. So both teams are going to bat on that pitch. So I think England, if they were to win, they have to score 500 or close to it, because I think, look, that it does look like a great batting pitch. And I mean, the third day going to the fourth day is always the best day to bat the Gabba. But I think there's no demons in the track. It's a good, clean batting pitch. I mean, he's got a little bit of movement, a little bit of it, like Pat Cummins said the other day, just enough. But I think, I think they're going to have to set Australia over 300 to chase, I think, or 250, in my opinion, if they're going to win.
Between 250 and 300. I think if they get to 300, then I don't think Australia can get that. Oh, well, no, mind you, India got 329 last year, so we know what can happen. We mean, look, anything can happen the way they play these days because of the T20 game, and Australia have got some brilliant T20 players in their side.
Just a quick word before we go on. It seems all but announced that Tasmania will have the fifth test, which, in my personal opinion, we've been clamoring for a while. Fucking Shane Warne needs to shut up. Jesus Christ!
I know. I listened to him, and he's saying we'll only get 15,000. So the fuck? So what?
Oh, well, as I said, I think you have to commit. I mean, look, nothing's been announced yet, but from all reports, so I think you have to commend CA for doing the right thing and not actually going for the money, because I said, as well as you said, that if they wanted to make the money, they'd put it the day night test at the MCG. But as it was, they want to spread the game out all across Australia as much as possible, and I think it's fantastic. And I think, look, I think it's better for the game that they do that. And as we said, Shane Warne is obviously a biased Victorian, but he needs to shut up. Seriously, the amount of people on Twitter now just saying, like, just turn mute when Shane Warne's on. It's becoming ridiculous. I suppose we'll on that bombshell, we'll leave it there. Hey, for another day. All to play for again tomorrow, but we'll touch base with you after hopefully another enthralling day of cricket. Hey.